And people from all around the world have been lining up, waiting many hours for a chance to bid a final farewell to Pope Francis. He'll lie in state at St. Peter's Basilica through tomorrow, and the pontiff's funeral is scheduled for Saturday morning. In the coming weeks, senior members of the Catholic Church will meet in a conclave to elect Francis's successor. For more on this, I'm joined now by Father Daniel Groody. He's a vice president and associate provost at the University of Notre Dame and an associate professor of theology and global affairs at the university. Thanks for joining us this morning. Father, what is the likelihood of an American being elected as next pope? I know it's slim.
Well, I think the primary question on most people's minds, especially those who are electors, are who's the person who can lead us closest to God in this next generation of leadership. So right now, there's this period where there's just a slowing down and really preparing of themselves, quieting down so that they can listen. And in that time, it's really trying to listen. What is the Spirit saying? And how can we be attentive to what the Spirit is calling the church to live into now? So is there a possibility that an American could be elected? Yes, if things point that way, yes. But it's actually a very small percentage of electors. And the church is a big tent. There are people from around the world. So I think the chances are slim.
I think of the cardinals who can vote, the electors, there's some 53 who are European, I think 17 from Italy and 10 from the US. But a legacy from Pope Francis is that for the first time, a majority of this conclave will be non-European. So what impact might that have on this selection process to look at who is closest to God and right for the role?
That's a good question. I think it points to Pope Francis wanted to emphasize the internationality of the church and really recognize that this is a global church. So he, from some far-flung places, he appointed cardinals. But at the same time, there are people in Europe who know the inner workings of the church a little better. So one question would be, do we want representation from the developing world or from some further place like Pope Francis was from Argentina? Or is it better to have someone who also understands how a big institution works, like the Catholic Church, and those who are more familiar with the workings of the Curium?
And as they all vote in a couple of weeks, we will all wait and see the black smoke if it's not a, I think, 2/3 majority, and we'll see white smoke if they have made an agreement. If it goes many rounds, what does that suggest?
That it's a period of discernment. And I think it's not a clear case. There's different values. People often ask, is it liberal or conservative in terms of the next pope? But I think there's things that need to be conserved, and there's ways in which we all need to be liberated. And so I think there's a tension in that. And I think what you'll hear is people going back and forth, trying to listen, trying to debate, trying to discern really how God is speaking.
Yeah, we are in this, and Catholics are in this period of mourning, but there is a certain sense of excitement, too, about what comes next for this church, followed by more than 1.3 billion people around the world. Father Daniel Groody, joining us from South Bend, Indiana. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, Harold.
And we will bring you the funeral of Pope Francis on Saturday in a CBS News special report. Coverage begins at 4 a.m. Eastern, right here on CBS News 24/7 and on Paramount+.